A live streaming we will go. A live streaming we will go. Beautiful. So, audio we have. It's a beautiful thing. Welcome viewers, welcome friends. Welcome to another Von Helton. What is today? Von Helton Wednesday. On the menu today, folks, is the old and the new. We'll start off with the new. We have a couple of Von Helton clips from the last day or two. And then we'll get into the old. And I'll just say one word about that. Reptilians. Okay, so we'll start off with the new before we get to the old.
Alrighty, encouraged by others to do another mukbang, and encouraged to do a particular brand called Fanta. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, supposedly, Fanta's origins are from World War II. I think they said it was. I believe that was the origin of World War II. I don't know. I can't remember. I'll have to look at it again and go back and look at the history of it again. But anyway, we're going to do Fanta this time. And so let me put my camera, situate my camera like so. And this is going to be a treat for me because I do love pineapple. I love the taste of pineapple. So I hope this doesn't disappoint because it clearly states it's pineapple. So we're going to find out. Hopefully it won't fizz. It fizzed a little, but it didn't come out. You got to be careful with these bottles. Because I tell you, you got pranksters out there that love to shake the bottle and then put it back in the thing behind another one, and so then all the bubbles go back down, and you think, hey, it's safe to open, and then when you get it to your car and open it, it goes everywhere. It just spews everywhere. So watch out for that. Anyway. Success. It tastes just like a pineapple slice. Wow, that's amazing. That is definitely a banger, as the Brits would say. Alrighty, that is a win. And as far as I know, Mountain Dew does not have a pineapple flavor yet. You hear me, Mountain Dew? You don't have a pineapple flavor yet. But this does. It tastes just like a slice of pineapple. Very well done. Oh, the burps don't taste good, though. What the fuck is that? The gas bubbles, they don't taste good. But the pineapple taste is excellent. Good, strong flavor, too. Indeed. Very, very good. Very well done. Kudos to Fanta for getting the taste of pineapple right. And like I said, I love pineapple, so that's good. That turned out really, really good. So there we go. Excellent. That is an excellent, excellent drink. Alrighty, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you always know when I'm doing a video. And above all things, don't forget to donate, because your donations is what keeps me alive, because I'm not monetized and I do not have super chats. So I rely totally upon you for sustenance, at least until I can get into my own place and get my SSI or whatever I end up doing. But for now, I'm going to require a little bit of help from y'all. So links are provided below. Don't forget to check those out. If you live overseas, you can use PayPal. If you're here in the States, you can choose to use Cash App or PayPal, either one, whichever one you prefer. And if you don't want to do that, you can also use Google Wallet. Google Wallet goes straight to my Cash App. So if you don't want to use Cash App, you can use Google Wallet, and it'll get to me anyway. So that's going to do it for me. Another mukbang in the can, Fanta pineapple. And it was good. It was real good. Of course, I like pineapple, so, I'm a big fan of pineapple. So, all right, have a good one, folks. Bye. Alrighty, it's time for me to scare the shit out of you once again. Because I know you love it so. But there is a growing number of videos out there that are claiming that, according to the math, good old Nibiru is supposed to be swinging by here soon. I mean, real soon. I mean, really, 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 really soon. And, see, Planet Eris, which is who Nibiru is, or at least who we assume it is, only swings by about every 3,600 years. And Planet Eris used to have a shit ton of moons. It used to have a bunch of moons. And now it only has one moon because the last pass-through that it made, it slammed into a bunch of planets, and some of them got sucked up by Jupiter, and, so now it's down to just one moon left. And so Planet Eris and its moon Discordia, some videos are now claiming that it literally could show up at any time. So, let me review. Because remember, boys and girls, NASA's original statements on Apophis, the planet killer, was 2024 to 2025. But yet, now they've moved it up to 2029. Why? Why? Because here we are in 2024 and 2025. Okay, so we've got 3i Atlas out there. We've got Nibiru out there. And we've got Apophis out there. And NASA just recently showed pictures of a brown dwarf looking type object parked right next to the sun. So, we now have a problem, a big one, because now it would seem that we have 3 objects to contend with. Because if the people that are better at math than me are right, Nibiru should be showing up right now. Literally any day. Like I said, it comes every 30, it's either 36 or 3,700. I'm not sure which. 3,600, 3,700. I think it's 3,700, but I'd have to look again. Anyway, the point is that, I was cruising through some videos, and they're talking like if the math is right, Nibiru should be just swinging by any day. And then we've got Apophis going to be showing up, and then we've got 3i Atlas showing up. So this is going to be a hot time in the old town tonight, boys and girls. So I just thought I'd brighten your day. Because if Nibiru shows up, then that means the ancient gods, little g, will be returning. The reptilians are coming. Boy, David Icke's going to have a field day with that, isn't he? Because the reptilians are coming. For real. If the math holds true. Now, I suck at math. That's why I'm not going to say definitively of what's going on. But there is a ever-growing number of videos, an ever-growing amount of chatter out there that, hey, by the way, it's time for Nibiru to show up again. Now I don't know. I'm not a math whiz. But, It's out there, and I've got to report on it, so I am. So we could get. Wouldn't it be absolutely crazy if on the 19th of December we get Apophis, Atlas, and Nibiru all showing up at the same goddamn time? Wouldn't that be crazy? That'd be insane, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be insane? What in the hell are we going to do with that, boys and girls? That would be a mess, wouldn't it? Are you guys able to handle that? Are you all able to handle that shit? All of that happening at once? Oh, and by the way, some smarmy ass troll jumped my shit. Apophis is going to be thousands and thousands of miles away from Earth. No, dumbass, its trajectory changed. Its trajectory changed. Yes, originally on its path through our solar system, it would be miles and miles and miles away from Earth. Well, that changed because its trajectory changed. When it slingshotted around the sun, its trajectory changed to where that it will now be closer to the Earth than originally stated. Possibly a lot closer. Not sure how much. And everybody's keeping their cards close to the vest on that one. So but yeah, its trajectory changed. You know, how close is close? I don't know. Is it going to be close enough to urinate on us like it did Mars? And if it did, what would happen? Would it cause mass flooding? Because remember, it pisses water, right? It pisses water, so I mean, and we've already got tons of water as it is. So if it pisses millions and millions of gallons of water on Earth, what's going to happen? Is that going to cause flooding? Is that going to cause tsunamis? What would it piss in gallons and gallons and gallons, billions of gallons of water? What would that do to us? I'd say, well, at the very least, it's going to raise the water level, ain't it? Yeah. So, remember what the scientists warned me. People that are a lot smarter than me when it comes to certain things. They said you need to be at least 1,300 feet above sea level. Bon. And where I'm at in Kentucky, or where I was at in Kentucky, rather, was only 888 feet. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not high enough. Not according to the so-called expert. Okay. But wouldn't it be interesting? We get Atlas, Apophis, and Nibiru all at the same motherfucking time. A triple header. The trifecta, right? Wouldn't it be crazy? No, that's going to give you fucking nightmares now, isn't it? Oh, that just warms the cockles of your heart, right? The return of the reptiles, the Reptilians. Something that I got lampooned about for years and years and years, until David Icke came along. And it's like, oops. So I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting, huh? But yeah, I've got my ear to the grindstone, hearing a lot of chatter. Hey, by the way, isn't it in the 3600 period coming up soon? Time for Nibiru to show back up again. So, now if you want to call it Nibiru, you can, or if you want to call it Planet Eris, you can. Or if you want to, slow charging, or if you want to call it Planet X, you can do that too. Because it answers to all three. But, fascinating, is it not? I just thought I'd brighten your day because, I saw yet another video just a few minutes ago saying that, hey, by the way, according to the mathematics, it might be time for Nibiru to show up again. Every 30, I think it's either 36 or 3,700 years. Or is it 1,000? Anyway, whatever it is. I think it's 100. 37, let's go with 3,700 until I go and Google it and find out for sure. But yeah, the real name of Nibiru, well, the NASA's name, NASA calls it Planet Eris, Eris. And its moon is called Discordia because it sows discord. Huh, interesting, right? But yeah, Planet Eris, aka Nibiru, may actually show up just any time, according to some. And then once again, like I said, I'm no math whiz. I suck at math. So I'm going to defer to others on this one. See, now you say, well, Vaughn, why does it only show up every 36,000 years or 3,600 or whatever? Well, its orbit is a very strange orbit. It comes from way out there past the Oort cloud, comes up to our sun, swings around our sun, and then goes all the way back out to the Oort cloud again. Very treacherous little trek, I might add, but it does it every 3,700 years or 37,000, whatever it is. Like I said, I'd have to look it up again. But yeah, good old Planet Eris. It's time for it to show up again, according to some. So we might get the trifecta, man. We might get the triple whammy. Wouldn't that be just ducky? Wouldn't that be fun? Have I brightened your day? Yes, that would be very interesting, would it not? That we get all three of them motherfuckers at the same time. Oh, shit. I am glad that NASA finally showed them pictures of the brown dwarf, because I was getting really tired of having to defend myself on our solar system being a binary solar system. At least they finally released that shit. Remember, folks, NASA, never a straight answer. But at least they finally did release the pictures of the binary star system. Because we are a binary star system. That's exactly what we are, and that's what we've always been, as far as I know. As far as I know, we've always been one. And you're going to find out the moon is artificial. That should be fun. Supposedly the moon was towed into place. Apparently there is ancient documents from somewhere, I think in Central America, I believe they said. And it's the inhabitants talking about a time when there was no moon in the sky. Uh-oh. Isn't that interesting? But yeah, supposedly there's some ancient documents from Central America that talk about a time when there was no moon in the sky, and that the moon came along a lot later. Wasn't that interesting? This would explain a great many things, boys and girls. It would explain why you didn't need rain or storms back then, because the moisture was already in the air, because there was nothing to pull it out of the air, right? So that's interesting. And that would explain why the firmament broke and the earth was flooded for 40 days and 40 nights. Just little interesting things that kind of just fall into place when you sit back and you start thinking about this shit. Because Nibiru showing up would explain a great many things, wouldn't it? Yeah. And these ancient texts talked about Tiamat, which is the Earth's original name, before it got slammed into. Which it did. It got slammed into, and unfortunately Mars got nailed too. That's why Mars has this huge gash on one side, because Mars got hit too. See, Mars and Tiamat if I understand correctly, they used to be co-orbit. They used to co-orbit the sun. All right, but then Nibiru showed up, and with its bunch of moons. Tiamat was hit, and Mars was hit. Mars was hit with a glancing blow, which flung it out of its original orbit, which was the Goldilocks zone, into a new zone. Now, Tiamat was struck, and all but the core was smashed into bits, which created the asteroid field. And the core of Tiamat cooled, solidified, and became the Earth that we know as today. And so there you go. All but a tiny amount in the very center remained hot. The rest of it cooled and became the Earth that we know and love today, which was a very, very small planet, first starting out. And then according to the expanding Earth theory, as dust particles keep collecting and collecting and collecting on Earth, Earth keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. No subduction, no having to break India off from the continent and turn it upside down. What the fuck kind of crap is that anyway? But anyways, yeah, that's out there. That's actually out there. Oh, well, you got to break India off and flip it upside down in order to make the, it's like, what? No, it was a small Earth, and with the collection of dust, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's still getting bigger. Not all the dust that comes through the solar system, through the atmosphere rather, gets burned up. Some of it remains. Some of it makes it through. And then that gradually gets collected onto the Earth, and Earth gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because if you shrink the Earth down, all the continents fit perfectly. You don't have to break India off of the continent and turn it upside down. You don't have to turn anything sideways. It all fits perfect. Isn't that amazing? On a small Earth. It would also greatly explain why the animals were all able to migrate to various and sundry places back then. But anyway, I thought I'd brighten your day and let you know that there's a possibility that we could literally get the trifecta, because I'm hearing more and more chatter about that. About Nibiru, aka Eris, and its moon Discordia, showing back up again, which would be the return of the gods. Are you all prepared? Are you atheists prepared for the reptiles coming back? Are you prepared for that? How about the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims? Are they prepared for that shit? Boy, talk about an education. You get an education real quick then, wouldn't you? That'd be really interesting. It's going to be interesting, folks. It's going to be a blast, and we're going to get front row seats, man. If it rings true. Now, like I said, I am not a math whiz. Don't claim to be, but I'm hearing more and more chatter that, hey, by the way, we haven't had our 3,600 year visit by Nibiru yet. And people poo-pooed Sitchin and all that, but Sitchin ended up being right. Funny how nobody ever goes back later and says, oh, by the way, Sitchin ended up being right about a lot of this shit. They just want to lampoon the guy. They just want to make fun of the guy. And I think he's passed now, if I remember correctly. I think he's gone back to the source, or maybe recycled, one or the other. Either way, he's no longer here, I don't think. But everybody lampoons the guy and aggravates the guy, and he ended up being right about a lot of that shit. So, never judge a book by its cover, right? Anyways, I just thought I'd brighten your day as I go on to 20 minutes. I think it is. What is that? That is... it's almost 20 minutes. Sorry, we better cut it off. I don't want this thing to be too long. But anyways, yeah, man. So, are you guys prepared for this? What about you atheists? Are you prepared for that? And I
I'm
know the
prepared.
Christians and the Jews and the Muslims are going to be heartbroken. Hey, wait a minute. Our monotheism ain't real? No, it ain't real. It ain't never been real. It was used by ancient Rome to control your ass. That's all it was. No monotheism is real. Not even pagan monotheism is real. It's all fake shit. Like I said, they tried that monotheistic shit in Egypt, and what's his face was run out on a rail. Now some smarmy ass troll said that ain't what happened. Well, you have your interpretation and I have mine, right? Because you keep forgetting that CERN turns on their damn machine and alters our reality ever so slightly, just a little tiny bit. Ever so slightly alters our reality, shoving us into an alternate reality that's just a little bit different than what we were in. And they keep doing that over and over and over again, and they're proud of what they do. Happy at CERN. Go watch their video, Happy at CERN. They're proud of it. Because you see that one guy wearing the two placards around his neck, and when you translate the two placards, well, interpret them, you end up getting the Mandela effect. Nelson Mandela and the Mandela effect. And so, yeah, so they know exactly what they're doing. And they don't care. They do not care. All right, anyway, I'm done. I'm out of here. I just thought I'd brighten your day. Have fun.
All right. so that was Von Helton to this week, December 2025, or this morning, or yesterday, whatever. I don't know if he caught it, but he was mentioning some reptilian. He mentioned reptilian. And I was wondering, what the hell is reptilian? So, digging back into the Von Helton archives, I came up with what Von Helton's explanation is for reptilian. And wouldn't you know it, here it is. So let's do it.
All right, folks, as I said in my monologue, opening monologue, there is, I still get the chuckle, concerning reptilians and concerning who they are, where they're from, etc., etc. People just don't want to accept it. They just don't want to accept the fact that there not only could be, but most likely is, an ancient civilization of a race that is not human. They don't want to accept it. They can't process it in their mind. When you talk about evolution in particular, it's okay for mammals to evolve into a bipedal hominid, but not those damned reptilians. Even though the vast majority of them were already walking on two legs. Velociraptor, Tyrannosaurus rex, Iguanodon, already walking on two legs. So, how big of a leap then is it for them to evolve into a bipedal hominid? Not much. But when you bring that up, oh, no, can't be. They don't want to. Or they know and they don't want you to know, which is the more likely scenario. All right, these scientists are not stupid. And when you couple that with archaeological evidence, and I'm getting ready to give you some here in a minute, when you couple those two things together, there is no doubt that these creatures exist, or existed, if you will. There's rumors that they're still around today. Hey, maybe they are, maybe they ain't. That's a matter of debate. That's a matter of genuine, legitimate debate. But to question that they're not here or they were not here falls flat on its face with the evidence. And like I said, you have to be an archaeologist, cryptozoologist, in order to entertain the idea, because most scientists don't want to touch it. They either don't want to touch it or they don't want to tell you the truth. One or the other. It doesn't matter which. It doesn't matter which one of those you choose, because I win either way. But anyway, the truth of the matter is that there is overwhelming archaeological evidence about this particular scenario. And I'm going to play you something here right now that will address that very thing. So let me go ahead and do that. I got to bring it up here.
They are called gods, but they were humanoid beings of a rather reptilian type. The texts of Eden that I translated depict clearly and quite frequently the reptilian features of the gods. I personally estimate that the gods arrived approximately 300,000 years ago. And this derives from the fact that Homo sapiens arrived shortly after. I say this because throughout the text, genetics and the transformation of the human being are recurrent themes. The two particles that compose the word Eden are E, which means home, and Din, or Tin, which is life. But indeed, they are not alone. Humans are already on Earth. Who are these human beings?
All right, so you have an actual archaeologist who just happens to be French, telling you in no uncertain terms that, the reptilians, aka the Anunnaki, are legit. They're legit. They come here first. Now, here's my understanding as I know it. Humans naturally evolved.
What happened? I got an error. Oh my god, what happened there? I think that was like some kind of a hacking thing. Okay, plan B. Plan C. Let me just see if I can fix this. I don't know what the hell happened there. Yeah, just talk amongst yourselves. And see if I can find out where we were or what's going on here.
Evolved on this planet.
Okay, I think I've got it figured out. That was very strange. All right, I have it. Give me one more. Just give me a moment to set this thing. Make sure it looks as good as it did before, which it does. We can carry on.
Through adaptation and mutation, which is documented. This Darwinian idea of evolution is bullshit. But adaptation and mutation, no, that's legit. So, but for whatever reason, we had human beings here. All right. Now, the reptilians come, aka the Anunnaki. They come, and the reptilians come claiming to be Anunnaki, claiming to be the gods, claiming to be humanity's savior. But in fact, we find out that the Garden of Eden is not a paradise. The Garden of Eden is in fact a slave camp for the reptilians to enslave humankind, to be used for various things, including food, I might add. All right, so there's one misconception that has been dealt with right there, because everybody, the biblical account says, oh, it was a paradise, and Adam and Eve were there, and God was with them, and then this evil snake come along, and According to the ancient Sumerian writings, the Garden of Eden was a slave camp run by the reptilians. God was nowhere around, and the humanity was pretty much enslaved and put in peril. And then, of course, later on, the reptilians used humans as go-betweens, as overseers. Humans that would be loyal to them as overseers of humankind and to manipulate and control humankind to their particular ends. But the good news is that the real gods came back, established a base on Earth. You might have heard of it, called Atlantis. and kicked the reptilians a new ass, shoved them underground along with the Greys, and that's where they are to this day, as far as we know. So, that's my understanding of the whole scenario as it stands right now. You know, humanity was here. The reptiles came, claimed to be gods, enslaved mankind. Then the real gods came, established a human colony on Atlantis, kicked the reptilians a new asshole. But the humans that they created in Atlantis to oversee Atlantis started messing with dark magic, dark energy, or dark science and dark magic, which became dark energy, which sunk Atlantis. All right. That's the story as I'm understanding it right now. But Thoth mentions the reptilians in the Emerald Tablets. Now you have actual archaeological evidence that tells you that the reptilians are legit, posing as Anunnaki, the Watchers, the Unterdwelling of dwelling in darkness, dwelling in the underworld. Okay, so no, the Anunnaki, for you Sitchin fans out there, sorry, but the Anunnaki are not the gods. They're the reptilians. They came here, they enslaved mankind in the Garden of Eden, and are still under the control, despite getting defeated by the real gods who came in later, the Anunnaki who came in later. And, but they still have a major control because their meat puppets, the 13 elite families, are still in control of the earth. But it is my understanding that the real gods will return, overthrow the reptilians once and for all, and their meat puppets, and Earth will be free, truly free, for the first time in, well, since mankind's inception, just about. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. I want to live to see that future. I want to live to see the return of the real gods, not these reptilian bullshit artists, okay? Because they came here posing as gods. They're not gods. They're not. They're not gods. Okay, the real gods are returning. And, of course, when the real gods return, that pretty much does it for the three fake religions, right? The three fake religions will go bye-bye once the gods return, because by then it'll be pretty fucking obvious that, the gods that return are not Jesus, or Muhammad, or anybody else, okay? So, but their return will also signify the end of the reptilians' control of the earth and their 13 family meat puppets that are controlling mankind with their fake money and their influence over the governments of this world. I want to live to see that. I hope to live to see that day. But I don't know. But now, you now have actual archaeological evidence that you can point to that says, yes, the reptilians are real. They are a real threat. They are not. They're a threat, but I think the more immediate threat is their meat puppet servants, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Carnegies, the Warburgs, Vanderbilts, etc. Those have to be dealt with. And I don't know how that's going to come about. I know it's going to happen. I know for a fact that the time of the elite families is short, and that they will be done away with. I don't know how. Don't care. But their time and their power and their influence over this earth is gone. Will be gone. It ain't gone yet, but it will be gone. And how that occurs matters not. Not to me, anyway. I'm sure it'll matter to them, but it doesn't matter to me one whit. Just as long as their influence is gone. But the real gods will return, and they will obliterate the reptilians' influence on this earth once and for all, so far as I know the story right now. And that's a good thing. That is a really good thing. But beware, because, the Anunnaki that Sitchin spoke about are actually reptilians who came here posing as Anunnaki, posing as the true gods. They were not. They were not. You have Central America, all right, where you have the feathered serpent, okay, Quetzalcoatl. All right. So yes, there is tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of archaeological evidence. The Mayans, the Incas, the Toltecs, they all spoke of reptilian-like bipedal hominids that they thought were the gods and were not. And obviously, in almost every scenario, they never had our best interests at heart. Okay, and like I said, we now know, thanks to deciphering Sumerian tablets, that the Garden of Eden was anything but a paradise. It was a slave camp, and it enslaved, and the reptilians enslaved humankind. And it was liberated, as far as I can tell, by the people of Atlantis, who the gods made into demigods and gave them the ability to do so. At least that's what Thoth says, and that's what other writings suggest. That's what Sumerian writings even suggest in some cases. Okay, so there's where we stand with the reptilians. And, you know, if you still choose not to believe that this stuff is real, well, you know, then you're going against thousands of years of archaeological evidence. You're going against tons of actual scholars that have researched this evidence. You know, if you're laughing about it just because I say so, well, then you're an idiot. I'm sorry, but you are. Okay, because there is overwhelming evidence, both archaeological and scientific, that would suggest that if mammalians can evolve into bipedal hominids, so can reptilians. Sorry, but that's the truth. And any scientist that claims to be credible is not going to broker the fact that reptiles can evolve just like mammals. He's not a scientist, and he doesn't believe in evolution. Plain and simple. And that's going to do it for me. Y'all have a pleasant day and a better tomorrow. Bye.
All right. So there you go. There we go. Okay, so that was our friend Von Helton's explanation of current events as it relates to reptilians, and of course his explanation of how reptilians are irrefutably and undeniably, unarguably true. So, my friends, as you know, I love you so much, and thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Have a great day or evening, buddies.